Am I one? Am I two? No, I am three. Oh my gosh. It's the third anniversary of Interludes. We have been around since 2020. This is exciting. And I know many of you have been around since the beginning. We're going to be celebrating the anniversary of Interludes as well as talking about the BET Awards. And we have a special guest, international recording artist Jesse Campbell. There's a lot happening. Oh my goodness. Yes, there is. But it's time to get started. Let's go. Interludes Extra Talk on Tuesdays. We're here. We're back. We're having a good time. Oh my gosh, guys, you all, thank you so very much for being here. We are sponsored by Legal Shield. That's our episode sponsor for today. And if you need a will or trust prepared or updated, worried about identity theft, or have a business you need to protect or trademark, learn how Legal Shield can help you represent you for your legal needs at a fraction of the cost. Please visit the website linktr.ee/Pure Light Media for more information, or go ahead and we'll have Mr. Springer, who's back, put it in the chat for us. I'm just so excited about that. And also become a sponsor of Book Time with Val the Voice, as I teach people to do exactly what I'm doing right now, which is being someone who loves doing the podcast that's called Interludes. Oh my goodness. It's exciting. It's wonderful. Mr. Springer is back. I'm so happy to see you, brother. I hope you had a great, he just celebrated his second anniversary. It's our anniversary. But before we get to the anniversary, some of the summer vibes that I have been vibing with did you know that this past weekend, June 24th, 25th, and 26th, it was technically the first official summer weekend, the very first summer weekend. Now, we always say Memorial Day weekend is the first official start to summer, but it's kind of the unofficial start to summer. So that means that I've been hanging out near a beach, near some flowers, doing some other stuff with definitely my laptop and headphones. I love my headphones. Although I had to replace the headphones that I have. Oh my gosh, these are so raggedy. I'm just going to take them out of the shot. Don't nobody want to see those. Well, anyway, we're just having a good old time. I got a chance to kind of just go a little, I want to say, south of the city, and that would be Northwest Indiana. I was in Whiting, Indiana, checking out some things. And, this was kind of our view. Now, let me stop this real quick. I don't know if you've heard what's happening, but the Canadian wildfires that's happening, they're still burning. And today the air quality was a little horrible. I am totally not feeling that. I want to see who's in the chat. Let me see who's here. I see our moderator from last week is back, and Daniel saying hello to Kevin. Thank you so very much. Appreciate you so very much. And I see you. Thank you so much, Kevin. We wanted to just go ahead and celebrate you. And thank you so very much for, as always, Mr. Springer has been hanging with us for, I want to say, about 2 years as well. 2 years out of the 3 years since we've been doing Talk on Tuesdays, which we officially started with the streaming. I think, when did we start streaming this? We started streaming, I want to say, August of 2021, but we'll get to that in a few seconds. Go ahead and give me a shout if you're here in the chat. So grateful that you are here to celebrate with us. I wanted to show you something that I saw that I found very fascinating. Now, this was in near the beach at Whiting, Indiana. It's made out of, I want to say, stones. They have a special name for it, but it was near the beach. I thought it was cool. I thought it was phenomenal. So I said, "Hey, this is nice." And hello, thank you so very much, Wise. So good to see you, April. She's tuning in. Thank you so very much, and thank you also for the congrats. I appreciate you so very much, April. But that isn't that a nice stone brick situation? I think it's beautiful. So I took a picture of it and was like, I'll share it with the audience, as I was out in here enjoying some of these things. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I had some cheers, woo, we're celebrating our 3rd anniversary. Woo! It's so exciting. I'm happy about that. And Interludes has been around. We've been having a good time doing a lot of research. And one thing I will say is when I started this with Michael Womble. We were, at first, everyone was shut in. This was, I want to say, June of 2020. When we released the very first episode, he helped me produce it. It took about a couple of weeks to produce the first one. But since then, last year, I don't know if you all remember, very funny comedian David Arnold. We got a chance to see him at the Chicago Improv. And unfortunately, I believe he passed away toward the end of 2022. But we got a chance to see him. And then also, it was encouraged for me to go to the spa. So that's what I did. I went to the spa and I covered that for one of our audio podcasts as well. Sandy, who was on the previous page, recommended that we should interview Coach Tony Thompson, who went to the same college as both myself, Sandy, as well as Mr. Womble. And so this was from one of our earlier shows that we did. We brought him on as a coach and sports commentator, and you guys have been tuning in, really enjoying that as well. Last year, Mr. Womble and I got a chance to go to the Taste of Chicago. We definitely covered that. Because of NASCAR in Chicago, and I think it's getting started this weekend, the Taste of Chicago is being moved up to, I want to say, either August or September, which is totally weird. I'm not understanding the timing of that. We had Am I My Father's Keeper, the authors here. We went to their book signing. This was sometime last year. We covered that as well. And two of my favorite guests, I have favorite guests, but people that have been such a celebratory, Jury O'Neill. She's a Chicago native. She's in Long Island with her husband, Ron. She definitely encouraged myself and Michael to become comedians, stand-up comedians. We did it virtually at first, and then we started doing it in person. And of course, a comedian and actor, Jonathan Keaton, you'll see him at the bottom. We were discussing the Oscar slap from last year. And so that was a heavily watched talk on Tuesdays. It's really that was a rough episode. Speaking of stand-up comedy, myself and Michael got a chance to premiere on the stage here in Alsip, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. And we were at Riddles, and you see some of my friends, Princess, she's there in the leather jacket, but Jury, who you see in the gray, she's the one who was kind of our coach to say, you guys can do it. You can stand in front of people and make them laugh. I was real good just standing in front of my camera, but this was a fun time. And she also encouraged her, I believe that's her cousin, and that's his wife there as well. And then, of course, one of our biggest supporters, Sandy. I can't express enough how much love and appreciation that both myself and Michael have for Sandy, because she hooked us up with Coach Tony, and then she supported us whenever we decided to do stand-up comedy, which was last year. And I think I did a 17-minute set, and then Michael did 20 minutes. His was longer. Tracy Kincaid invited us to be ourselves on set, and this was, I believe we shot this at the Chicago State University here on the south side of Chicago. So we appeared as hosts, which, it's not a stretch. And Alvin, Alvin Daniels. He was a director, and we had him on. He's also a college professor, and him and Michael bonded because they called each other unicorns. You know, that that's it. So thank you so very much for that. We're talking the pivotal moments of Interludes Extra Talk on Tuesday. Kevin, come on, man. Thank you so very much. And Janelle, keep in mind, you and Kevin were both a little in my face back in 2012, 2013, and says, you need to start a podcast. I remember that encouragement coming from both Kevin and Janelle, the young lady's face that you see right there. And Daniel, thank you so very much for the happy anniversary. Man, oh man, I just can't believe it's been 3 years. I can't believe it. And of course, some of my other supporters is friends and family, my cousin and his wife from Maryland. That would be Stephen and his wife, Tina. Uh, Stephen's company, which was my uncle's company, A1 Pest Masters. If you hear the very first couple of episodes of Interludes, I'm advertising the pest control company that my uncle started back in 1979. And also, I am still employed by my cousin. He's my boss. He's a good boss, too. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Glad you got your podcast game on. Thank you. Thank you. But here, Kevin and you and Janelle, and also I think Roxanne, great encouragers for letting me know that I need to be doing this type of thing. At the top is my closest friend, longest friend. I think it's over 40 years. She likes to say 50, but that would have made us real babies. However, this is her with her a grown daughter, Desi, and her daughter at the time was pregnant with her beautiful daughter, Nunu. We've had a lot of fun experiences. And also, Princess agreed to be on one of the episodes for Talk on Tuesday. We went to the auto show in 2021, and that was a heavily watched episode as well. Corey and Carolyn, just kind of my core married couple here that I love dearly. They're the ones that encouraged me when I came out from the shadows of doing stand-up comedy. Started to do that at Afro Joe's, and they came out to support me, which is because it's technically not too far away from where they live, which was convenient, but it was just good to have their support. And anytime I did anything virtually, they would also support as well. Everyone you see on this page, they supported not only with showing up, but with their dollars too. So that's amazing. And that's the reason why there's so many other folks that have been extremely supportive of Interludes. But I ultimately just want to say thank you to everyone who has supported Interludes, who has subscribed to the YouTube channel. And I'll go ahead and say it like always with this particular video. The number one way you could help and support this streaming platform is to go ahead and hit the like button and please share. And also, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to the Interludes YouTube channel. We're growing strong with over 360, I believe, subscribers. And it's exciting that you guys are here. And we really appreciate you just showing up and just being a blessing and all of that wonderful stuff to us. I mean, I'm extremely, extremely grateful. Thank you so very much. Oh, you know what? Janelle's sister, Lisa, she used to do this thing online and would call it the Shake My Head Awards. And I think it's I'm saying it wrong. It's the SMH Awards. That's it. I didn't know what she meant when she did that, but I had a lot of those moments when I was trying to celebrate June as Black Music Month. I'm just saying. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. SMH Awards. That's right. Shaking my head. That's what that means. Shaking my head awards. So I was watching the award show, the BET Awards, and that came on this past Sunday. Yeah, she needs to bring it back. Janelle, you are so correct. She needs to bring it right on back because that I was shaking my head at a lot of things that happened. So the BET Awards was airing on all of the platforms for BET, VH1, just kind of across the platforms, Paramount Plus. And so I was just happy to see some folks that I haven't seen in a long time. And I did watch the pre-show. That was important. Going back to our interludes celebration, we had Lucina Fisher, and she is a filmmaker and a director of Team Dream. Now, she also directed Mama Flora, and that was one of the films that premiered at the Chicago International Film Festival back in 2021. She was a guest on our platform, and I wanted to go ahead and celebrate her because at the beginning, just toward the beginning of the pre-show for the BET Awards, they went ahead and celebrated and said, hey, Queen Latifah has started this called Queen Collective. And so she directed a 29-minute short called Team Dream. And so I'll be checking it out and reviewing that in a later episode of Talk on Tuesdays. But congratulations to Miss Fisher for directing this, and for the other 4 or 5 women filmmakers, giving them a voice. And I was just really excited because, number one, she was one of our guests on the show back in 2021. And so there was no host. We had hosts here we had hosts for the pre-show, and one of my favorite actors from Think Like a Man, Terrence J. I thought that was hilarious. And here's the thing. There was no official host for the BET Awards. Well, who I felt was kind of the unspoken host was the announcer, MC Light, who also performed toward the beginning, and then Kid Capri, who did all of the DJing. There was a lot of paying homage to hip hop turning 50, and they pushed out. I mean, I want to say it was anywhere between 40 to 50 acts that hit the stage, and the vast majority of them were all hip hop folks, and I loved it. This was a shocker for me. Coco Jones, who we know from, if you love and have been watching the Peacock series Bel Air, she's also a singer. And I remember her in a couple of Disney movies early on in her career, but she won for Best New Artist. And she was in a category with many singers and also rappers, all women. And so she won, and she was crying, as you see here, just, oh my gosh, I won. Oh. So I said, okay, girl, Hillary won an award. That's what I thought. Hillary won an award. So anyway, so that's what's up. And then it was just, I saw Big Daddy Kane. It was a lot of other rap acts that came on. And what happened is that anyone who had passed away, they would have someone say something about them, like Big Daddy Kane. I didn't realize that Biz Markie either helped him in his career, so he kind of paid homage to him. I saw Big Daddy Kane do a couple of dance moves. He looked like he was going to get a little too tired, but it was okay. He did it for 30 seconds, and then he stopped, because I was thinking, okay, you got to go home and get the Bengay. And then also, we've always seen D Nice in the DJing booth, kind of doing the same thing that Kid Capri would be doing that same night. However, they had him actually do one of his hit songs, My Name is D Nice. Taking out your suckers and you don't know how I did it. Come on. Janelle, yes. He did his thing. I was so hyped. And I've met D Nice a couple of times. He did a DJ, I want to say, show for my former client and a non-for-profit out of New York. And what they did was the second year for this special event, they moved him like way away from everybody. And I was like, oh my gosh, why would they do that? They moved him away. So I went up to speak to him, and he remembered from the previous year. And, I was just giving his props, and I didn't want to, bother him or anything. So I said, you know what? Let me go and leave you alone. And he was like, yo, Val, wait, don't leave. So DJs don't want to be there. They don't want to be there. What you mean you ain't mad? Okay, I ain't mad either. Thank you so much for being here. She used my full government name. I love it. Greetings, Valerie. So yeah, it was good to see him, because he was a part of Boogie Down Productions with KRS-One, and definitely one of the pioneers of hip hop, which I really love. And yes, Exactly. Biz Markie, the Vapors. I totally forgot about that. Big Daddy Kane. I totally forgot about that. That's absolutely crazy. Oh my goodness. And so, you know, I'm sitting here, was very excited. Number one, now I'm missing a whole lot of the other acts that performed. There were many young acts that performed. I want to say Lola Brooke. She also performed. And then I found out a lot of the artists that had very famous TikTok songs. Huge, I mean, huge TikTok songs. And I was like, oh, that's the person who sings that. Oh, that's the person that did that. You know, Pretty Girls Walk Like This. I didn't know it was the young lady that performed it. She actually performed it before the show. So there was a lot of those performances that happened that was educating me on what's out. But I was just so happy to see the old heads. You guys, you just don't know. I was happy to see the old heads. And yes, Janelle, rip to Biz. And it'll never be another artist like, yes, him. But this is it. I did not know Busta Rhymes had been nominated for about 13 Grammys, maybe 12 or 13 Grammys. And this was probably a great crown jewel. There was anywhere from, I want to say, Mariah Carey, Janet Jackson, who was it? Also, Puff Daddy, uh, Pharrell. All of these folks spoke and talked about their love for how unifying Busta Rhymes has been in his career. Also, it was fun to see Kid and Play. They did their thing. So they were really hitting a lot of different, I want to say, they were hitting a lot of different genres of music. They wanted to make sure they represented the West Coast, the Miami sound, the Dirty South sound. You saw T.I., and then also there was wonderful tributes. Not I like the tribute that the Migos did. I love that tribute to Takeoff that they did, but I was a little troubled by the Tina Turner tribute that was done by Patti LaBelle, because Patti LaBelle didn't remember the words for a little bit, and then there was some other hiccups that happened, and I was like, oh no. And so, but if you guys didn't see the BET Awards, you know how BET does. They'll rerun it 300 more times a day. Which is absolutely nuts. Oh, yes. And here's Janelle. She says, I wish there were more hip hop artists like Queen Latifah, Slick Rick. And yes, all of those folks. I believe a lot of the younger folks that were similar to the hip hop artists that we loved back in the day, they are underground. One of the folks that I know that was mentioned was Kendrick Lamar. And a lot of his rap is conscious. But, here's the thing. Young people, they record the music. It may not necessarily be for me, and it may not be for my ears. I'm okay with that, because we got to keep the genre going. I just hope that once you get popular and get your money, or however that is, do something that's a little bit more conscious, please. Pretty please, with sugar on top of it. And Lakeisha says, I thought it was a little different for Patti LaBelle, and I thought it was horrible that she was forgetting the words. I cringe for her, because I love Patti LaBelle. I love, love, love. I've seen her perform a dozen of times, but she says, you all hear that, right? Because she was sounding off. And when you perform on stage, sometimes you have the sound in your ear, so you can kind of match either, I'm assuming, the background as well as possibly the music, so you can keep the timing. But you know what? I'm talking, running my mouth. We have a special guest on tonight, and I know I'm running a little bit over time, but I just wanted to bring him on and chit chat with him a little bit. I want to thank April for this introduction, for letting me go ahead and tell me about this young man. And one thing that I will say is, when you are in this industry, in this music industry, you've got to be careful. You got to guard your heart. But if you love what you do, it will just come out. It'll just come out. And I have to say, the music industry is constantly evolving. It's always changing. We have this wonderful guest. He was a finalist for The Voice in the second season. And I love supporting Chicago natives. And he's a single father and just phenomenal, based out of Los Angeles. And he is going to be performing for his birthday, which is wonderful. And so we want to bring him on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I love doing wonderful introductions. Oh, wait, I went right past the introduction that I want to do. Mr. Jesse Campbell, welcome to Interludes. Yay! Yay! You're muted. You're muted. I can't hear you.
Hey, Val. All right, you missed all of that.
How are you?
I'm very well, but I'm more gray now than that photo.
That means that's a lot of wisdom there. That's what that
Better
means.
believe it.
I know.
Yeah. And the wisdom didn't show when I covered it up with my daughter's eyebrow pencil that was in the car before my photo shoot. Let me try this. Everybody else talking about I should dye it. Let me see what it's like. She's like, Dad, that's way too dark.
What is going on with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. As I mentioned earlier, you're a Chicago native, a devoted father, and one of the finalists from the second season of NBC's The Voice. Number one, can you share with us some of your thoughts on the current state of the music industry?
Well, for one, I listen to, different music, but if I don't feel it early on, I just go to a different song, different station or something like that. So I don't really feel it. If I'm not feeling it, I don't really know what to say about it. But it's everything like today's time. It's just quick, hurry up, let's get it done. But I got to tell you, I appreciate Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak because they go back and get the old songs and they do it justice. So I appreciate that they put time into it. And I just appreciate the fact that they are, keeping that alive, which is so different than today. Today, you can have AI create a song and sounds good, but can't feel it.
I know. And this is horrible because there has been a couple of deep fake songs that have come out where they say it's an artist, but it actually isn't. And I heard some pushback from a couple of artists, Drake and Ice Cube and a few others. But there's got to be a market for real vocals, real talent performing versus AI. It's got to be, right?
Yeah, I believe it is. I mean, AI it's still evolving, and they are developing this technology, and we're not there yet, but we're getting there. But the thing is, you'll be able to differentiate that from AI from the feeling that you get from a human. But it does make it easier for independent artists where they don't have to depend on musicians and certain type of writers and things like that. I kind of have mixed feelings about it, but for one, I don't even like to use auto tune when I'm recording, certainly when I'm not performing. So when it comes to AI, I don't feel it whatsoever when as it pertains to my performing. So, and I just try not to judge it, but it is what it is, and it's what the young people, how they express themselves, and if there's an easier way for them to do that, a more efficient way, I should say, then more power to them.
What advice would you give someone, trying out for, let's say, The Voice or American Idol or some type of competition songs, or I want to call it reality shows? What advice would you give someone entering into that stage and going for being discovered in that regard? Is that a great way to be discovered or develop your career?
Well, Val, I mean, it's like what they need to understand is that when you sign up and you sign on that dotted line, it's anything goes because
Mm.
it's reality TV. And a lot of people don't understand how much scripting goes into that. And that's like one of those things you don't really talk about. But um, if you go into it with the mindset of exposure, that's what I'm doing. I'm getting exposure. Then you're okay. Don't be attached to the outcome. You always go and you do your best. You prepare for the worst as far as standing in line and prepare for the no's. But as long as you continue to do your best and continue to audition over and over and over again, hey, you'll get to the point where you may accept the fact, you know what, I did my best. And when it's
Mhm.
all said and done, you want to be able to know that and say that to yourself. So in my case, I did everything I knew to do, raising my daughter and making the sacrifices. Just after auditioning multiple times for America's Got Talent, X Factor, and The Voice, I was like, wow, God, you know what? I didn't spend money. I've gone to different cities, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity and all of the things that you've blessed me to do in the past prior to this auditioning process. And I'm just grateful. So,
Mhm.
all right, what are we going to do now? Because I did that. There's no looking back. There's no
Mhm.
feeling sorry for myself. I know I did my best. And if they don't feel that I'm good looking enough, that I have a single dad raising a gorgeous, intelligent, a loving daughter, and a great voice, then hey, they must not be looking for this. So how am I going to continue my education in spiritual psychology because it's really expensive? So longer story shorter, I knew I needed like $1,600 in 2 weeks. So when I flew back home,
Mhm.
I said, well, I'm just going to accept singing engagements for whatever people could afford. And I'm going to go and sing on 3rd Street Promenade, which is what I had to do to make it through the first year. And the school was the University of Santa Monica, a school of
Wow.
spiritual psychology.
Mm.
So, so that was on a Sunday when I made that vow to myself. But that Wednesday, someone called and asked me to do a mini concert at their church that following Sunday, just 4 days
Oh,
later. So I'm like, okay, great. Thank you, God. We're going to get the money we need.
yes,
So,
yes.
because I charged a lot of money. So he said, okay, well, we got a $75 honorarium for you. And I'm like, oh, hell no. I wish I would. I wish and something said, you said, and I was like, oh, I couldn't even get the thought out. God, man, I sure did, didn't I? I said, okay, sir, I'll be there. So I showed up and I began to sing the required 4 songs. And there was such a reciprocating love
Mhm.
that I ended up singing 7 songs. And by the
Wow.
time I left, she allowed people to give into my hands on their way out the door. And I left with $780.
Wow.
So the next day, after having half of what I needed, the speaker called. And the speaker was Della Reese, touched by an angel.
There you go.
And she called and she said, baby, I was so moved by what you did. I called a son of mine, and he has a show called The Voice. Now, I couldn't
Wow.
remember your name, so I told him it was Austin Powers. So when you meet him, tell him that's your stage name, but your real name is Jesse Campbell. Now, we need to get him some music. I rushed home, gathered the music. She got it to him the next day after auditioning in 2 different cities twice.
Mhm.
They asked me to be on the show 30 days into their second season. So
Mm.
I had favor. And it just happened as a result of me being true to myself, doing what I know to do, and keeping my word. So I've been working on integrity for some years now. And as a result of that work, it brought about great results. And that's how I made it on the show. Now, I performed 5 times before over 30 million people each.
Mhm.
I had a vision board of making
Wow.
it onto a reality show it was a year before. Oh, yeah, my
Mhm.
desire was X Factor because I wanted to get to Simon Cowell.
Yeah, yeah.
I had the major channels, the major like ABC in the corner, CBS in one corner, Fox
Good.
down here, NBC over there. I had
Mhm.
movie theaters on there, And those things came to pass. I was on NBC. I was on the Tonight Show. I was in the movie theaters. They used me as the commercials. So it
Wow.
actually came to pass. So whatever you think and you feel about is what you're going to bring about. Hopefully, you're going to think and feel something good, as I did. And it literally manifested after I did the work that's required that goes along with the faith. And then it actually produced results after I did everything I knew to do and just said, I'm grateful, God. And when my time ended on the show, I went off
Mm-hmm.
like a champ. I said, I lived a dream. And the reason why I say I went off like a champ is because they removed me in an unjust way. And I
Mm.
later was asked to be a part of a lawsuit to sue
Ooh.
The Voice
Wow.
and the creators of the show.
Wow.
But I chose not to, because I
Mm.
said, I'm going to let God fight my battles. And I love this industry and they're not going to blackball me. But they did blackball me to cover their tracks. But I still didn't sue them. And because Della Reese is the one that got me on the show through
Mm.
Mark Burnett, and he and I became pretty cool. So then that means I would sue him as well. So I'm like, you know what, God, I'm going to let you fight this battle. But before I got to that place, they released me. And
Mm-hmm.
when Carson Daly gave me the microphone, when it was a shocker to everyone, I said, I lived a dream, because the world didn't know I had a vision board.
Mm-hmm.
But I lived a dream, and how I relate to myself while in the process becomes the process. And I'm grateful. So as a result of me being grateful for all that God had done for me, as a result of the gift of making room by traveling with Creflo Dollar, TD Jakes, singing on different gospel artist albums, and having been to 12 countries singing good news, then I end up saying I'm grateful when they released me from the show, and I'm still receiving things to be grateful for, like being here with you, Val.
Oh gosh. Oh, amazing. And I knew your story was incredible. And that's kind of that, I want to call it the Chicago resilience and
Yeah, I like that.
God resilience. And
Like that.
a lot of people are not familiar. Your father was a minister and was very well known here in the Chicagoland area, and
Yeah.
you were around music all of your life. I heard some wonderful interviews done with you, and you spoke about uh, the Winans, and they were at your house. Kind
Hmm.
of walk me back with being around music and being inspired by literally the church and kind of the gospel roots of it all.
Sure. Well, we had a very progressive church on the west side of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
We had a beautiful, powerful choir. We had we had we had two keyboard players, well, an
Ooh.
organ keyboard player, a piano player. We had guitar. We had lead. We had a three-piece percussion group. We had congos. We had it all.
Ooh.
And Dad was one of the most, if not the most, powerful preachers in the city of Chicago. So whenever
Wow.
these gospel groups and artists would come to Chicago, they'd always come to our church, because we had these midnight musicals. And it was just one of the top places to be. But a lot of times, some of those artists would stay at our home, and the
Mm-hmm.
Winans were the most frequent guests. And
Ah.
they were just fun loving. Mainly it was always Ronald and Marvin. And so
Okay.
one day, because they love to play video games too, so we were all just video game buffs, especially Marvin Winans. He did not like to lose. But one day I'm walking around the crib, I'm doing my chores, and that's when they heard me. And we were on our way to a choir rehearsal on a Tuesday night. And I said Ronald, but Marvin said it was him. But Ronald said, "Hey, y'all, Jesse can sing." And my dad was like, "Jesse can't sing. Jesse's a drummer." And I'm 16. Like, how could you not know I sing? Man. But fact of the matter, then Marvin said, "No, Jesse can sing." So my dad made me learn a song at the choir at choir rehearsal that evening. And the first song, I believe, was "I Know the Harvest is Ripe." Real high voice as a 16-year-old. But the laborers are few. You need someone who will work until the day's through. I hear your call. And if you want someone to go, I'll go.
Hey.
The algo, send me
Oh.
algo. And that was the beginning of it all. And that's how I started singing.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. And like I said,
Thank you.
that journey of growing as a singer and coming from, because musicians I feel hide, especially I have musicians in my family, they're talented, but you find out they can sing and you're like, what? You just thought you were the keyboardist, you just thought you were the percussionist, or you the person
Yep.
just tambourine, but they open, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, you put that mic and you open your mouth and you're like, wow. I
That works.
it works. I have to say that you have a YouTube channel. I was checking out. I see you in your car. I was meaning to grab some of the pictures of yourself being in the car, and you're like, this is a song that I love. And I heard, I think you did. It was either Earth Song. It was one of the songs from Michael Jackson. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember thinking, I remember Michael singing this song, but why am I getting emotional listening to Jesse sing this song? And then I remembered you being on the voice. And I remember I told you I'm like Issa Rae. I root for everybody Black. No diss to anybody else. So I remember voting for you and cheering you on because they're like, yes, he's from Chicago. And I'm like, yes. What I'm going to do, Coach, if you're here, I think I see you. I'm going to see if he has any questions for you. This is another Chicago native, Coach
What up,
Tony.
Coach?
Hey.
Hey, hey, we south side of the city though, Jess.
I forgive you. It's all good.
Hey, you know how back in the day that was, man. But hey, man, I
Yep.
really appreciate you. I like, and also, by the way, you're gonna respect this. I am in now Nashville, Tennessee, home of the Winans.
Really?
Oh yeah. BB, CC, and
CC, you didn't know that,
Angie,
Val?
Debbie.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know that.
Nashville, native born and raised here. Very good friends with Oprah Winfrey. They do a lot of things in Nashville for the gospel community. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
And I have to say that staying resilient, and this is, I'll kind of wrap with this. What has been, I want to say, your North Star in keeping you encouraged through the ups and downs being in this music industry and performing?
Well, I mean, my daughter played a big part, but I am one, and when I perform on a Sunday evening for my birthday bash concert, I'm going to tell them the story. And I'm going to tell them the story toward the breakdown of "Cause I Love You," Lenny Williams. Oh. Do y'all mind if I tell a story of mine? I love me some Lenny Williams, but hopefully y'all got enough from the first part of the song. But now I need you all to hear me. And I'm going to tell them in that space of how I started out, sang that song I sang for you guys. And yes, God said, I'll send you, sent me. Then I sang on another guy's album by the name of, first album was Timothy Wright. Master, can you use me? Sing just a little bit of that. And then after that, yes, God said, I want to use you. Then God began to send me other places. And I did a contract, recorded a contract, signed a contract on Capitol Records. And the song was, when you cry, I cry. You know I feel your pain. Girl, I know what you feel inside. Because I feel it every time I close my eye. I cry again. And after I get through singing that, then I was convicted. I didn't want to do it anymore. I gave up the contract, and then Capitol Records dropped all of their Black artists. And I just recently learned that that same year, Tevin Campbell, I just watched the interview of his, and Warner Brothers dropped all of their Black artists. That same year, 1996, Capitol, all of their Black artists were dropped from the label. But I said, I don't want to do it anymore before they dropped all the Black artists. Now, then Daryl Porter, Daryl McDavid, they were responsible, sent me out to New York, flew me out there and set up a meeting with Clive Davis. So I was going to be his male Whitney Houston. 2 weeks before the meeting, I canceled it. I gave it up. Then after that, then I had a wonderful opportunity to, I signed with Cunningham, Escott, and Dupini, big, thick contract to do voiceovers and animation. And they said that I was going to make them so wealthy, and they only got 5%. So 3 months later, they called me in. I was still traveling with Jakes and Creflo Dollar and doing all these big conferences and things like that, singing, his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches over me. Yeah. So I was still doing that. I know, right? And so they said, we need you to make a choice. And once again, I gave that up as well. But the thing is, after I gave up so many of those opportunities, then I hit rock bottom. And as a result of hitting rock bottom, then I found out who the Rock was, because after I cried myself sick, then I heard the voice of God, and it said, study the origin of your faith. Wasn't that deep? I couldn't have thought of that. I wouldn't have thought of it. So I began to do that. And the gist of what I've gotten since 2008 was that God is all there is, and all there is God. He created us as divine beings, and we are using and having this human experience to awaken to who God is in us. And all the other stuff has been set up against us to keep us from that truth, like in the Matrix. But when we realize who we are, then in the spirit, we doing all the moves like Neo did and all that kind of stuff like that. So that's kind of what I got. So that's the gist of it. But I have come to the place where I don't judge anybody, anything, anywhere, of any time, simply because for me to judge them would be for me to judge the creator of all this. And because the creator is in me, I'm judging myself. So once I begin to accept, then I feel like the whole Spirit of God accepted me. And so what happened was, then that gift of life and that gift of understanding as a result of getting it, then that's when the doors begin to open. Now I go on The Voice, and then that happened after The Voice, right? I mean, that happened before The Voice. And when I was on The Voice, case in point, I told a sister, she was the only one that worked there behind the scenes. And I saw her every time before I went live, before we did the performance. And I told her, I said, you know what? I'm going to be the first artist first contestant to return as a sitting judge. Yeah. So she went and told everybody. Oh. And they hated me even more for it. Oh. But the fact is, when they released me, now I said how I went off, like a champ before, but 2 days later, I wanted to go through that place like Jesus in the temple, start smacking some cameras and turning over some tables, kicking some folks. But no. But now, 2013, the next year, The Voice of Vietnam asked me to be the guest recording artist for the finale of their first season. Oh. So while I'm over there as the guest recording artist to close out their first season, I'm looking at these little Asian kids like, what? Can you speak? You go tell her to come here. She just butchering Halo. Come here. Okay, look, I need you to say, hey, throw it out there. Hey, good. Now say low. Not yo, but low. Now put it together. Halo. Very good. Great. Now go get him over there, because he's just tearing Michael Jackson up and he's just hurting my heart. Tell him to come here. All right, now look, let me help you out. So fact of the matter is, then they offered me to be one of the 4 sitting judges on The Voice of Vietnam. Now I said all that to say this, because I was still raising my daughter and I didn't want to uproot her from the possibilities of having a better and a closer relationship with her mother, I chose to give it up. So when I said earlier that my daughter was a big reason, because I needed to provide for her and this was the best way. Now that my daughter just graduated from college, San Diego State University, in the field of sustainability. 2 weeks before the graduation, she tells me, "Oh, Dad, I got accepted in a study abroad program in France." Oh, yes. I'm like, "Hey, how much is that gonna cost?" So that was several $1,000s. I escorted her to Paris, France. I mean, a part of France. And then from France, while I was there, then some other people found out and they invited me to perform in Italy, in Venice. Everything first class. From Venice going back to Paris, back to France. On the on the connecting flight. Then I got a call to go back to LA to do a memorial service. And they wanted me to leave the next day. But I'm like, look, y'all got to pay me my full fee. Okay, fine. It worked out. But now the baby girl is grown. Now it's about me. But I did pass up that opportunity in Vietnam because it was for my daughter. But now that she's grown, now it's time to do me. It was my faith that kept me. It was meant for me to go through the hard times. It was meant for me to go through all of the ups and downs while getting the understanding to come to know who God is in me. Therefore, I don't hold any judgments. I just try my best to love everybody, not judge them. And as a result, it has been directing my path to the point now I'm working with 4 different producers, and I'm putting on this concert in Chicago, my birthday bash concert, where it's the first of many to come. And I'm just ready to take whatever spot God has for me in this industry.
Wonderful. And definitely.
I dropped the DJ for you, Jesse. Let me know, baby. I pack up an old school 80s, baby. So we drop some house music, some old gospel house.
Yes.
I come back home and do it just like we got the old Hot Mix 5 in Jackson Park, baby.
Woo, nice. So you willing to come back to Chicago to do some of that?
I'll be home, and matter of fact, I'll be home next weekend. While I'm there, we can sit down and talk about some things. I'll make sure Val get you my info.
All right, I love it.
And so
sounds good.
And so Jesse will be at the Infinity Center for the Arts, the Sanctuary, and that's here in Chicago. There's the information. I'll ask Kevin to put the information in the chat, but go ahead. It is this coming Sunday. This is a great concert to go check out. Sunday,
Please
July
do.
2nd. And the show time is 6:30. People should get there early, right, Jesse?
Doors open at 5. Concert starts 6:30. I'm off the stage at 8 o'clock. I am very prompt. I'm gonna try to stall a little bit, but not much, because the parking, it's just street parking, but they said it's usually no problem. And I think I'm the only one in this big converted church into an entertainment space for the arts. So that means it should be more space. But what better place for me to perform than in a situation like that? So after 8 o'clock, then we're going down to the area where we've got a DJ down there doing his thing. Next time, I know now, Coach Tony. But the fact is, we're going to be down there. We're going to dance for about 2, maybe even 3 hours. And hopefully somebody going to get wise and bring me a big cake. Hey, shoot. But we're going to be down there having a good time for about 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours afterwards. So.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so very much. And guys, for tickets, please call 312-421-4600. He's an excellent moderator. I love him. And I'll go ahead and put the link to those tickets in the chat as well. Mark says you're looking real sharp in that poster, Jesse.
Yes. Thank you. I've been at Planet Fitness trying to fit in that jacket ever since I've been here. They know me by name at the Planet Fitness in Tinley Park.
There you go, baby.
Oh my gosh. Jesse Campbell, thank you so very much for joining us on tonight. When April told me about you, I knew I had to have you on, and you were the perfect, wonderful culmination of June being Black Music Month. You are music, and God has definitely blessed you and your voice. We thank you, and we're going to be encouraging folks to come see you July 2nd, Sunday, to celebrate.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Well, hey, but also now, if you guys follow me, I remember performing in Hollywood. Sometimes I perform with these 20-year-olds. I gotta tell you, Coach Tony, that's a challenge, because I'm like, no, I want you to play it this way. But no, it's gonna be okay. No, don't have me call you a name. I want you to play it my way. No, it'll be okay. What do you mean it's gonna be? All right, just do it.
Hey, that's because you use the real instrument and they use the stuff that's made up.
Man, look, they made it up. They did what they did, and I did what I was gonna do right on top of them. And
I told Val, I had to give Val, and Val, I love you to death, you my girl, but I gotta protect my girl. My girl, Patti LaBelle. The reason why the people that was talking earlier, the reason why Patti LaBelle had problems, she did not forget any words, and she did not have a bad performance. What happened was the people that was in the audience were so tall, they stood up in front of the teleprompter, and Patti could not see the words. So as she was singing, the words kind of blurred out. So, because she's Patty, obviously you could say she should have learned the words, but when you're a star, you got to learn another star's word or album or song. Sometimes that's difficult without the words. So when the people kept jumping up and they were cheering and cheering and cheering, they kept blocking the teleprompter. That's why it sounded choppy, not because she lost her place or lost the words.
Oh, yeah. And that happened to me when I was in Italy. I said, well, I can do these songs, but I need the teleprompter. And they had the teleprompter, but he didn't have the right person working it. So he spoke Italian and he didn't know how to follow me. And I'm like, I'm like, man, this is horrible. So, but I said never again. And I had to sing Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. Yeah, they messed up the words.
I'm looking for the right.
No, yeah, you singing the wrong words. Or yeah. So that's Imagine Me. I'm looking for You look for the teleprompter for the lyrics.
Hey, that's what it sounds like without the teleprompter.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly. Thank you for representing like that. But it happens, sometimes it's technology. And sometimes, like when I did the performance in Vietnam, the only person there that could speak English, he was telling me he was doing this. And I'm like, why is he doing that? I'm still performing. So I just pulled my in-ear out, and I want you to know that the audience had a totally different pitch key, and it was about 5 seconds faster.
Wow.
Technology. Wow. So that's why when I saw her, I was snacking on something. I was like, oh, yeah, that happens. Yeah. Technology. Guys, I felt horrible, but it happens.
I know, and I felt horrible too because I love Patty, but I was just thinking, what happened? And she says, "You see what's happening, right?" And she powered through, and then, and then Lakeisha said exactly. But I'm sitting here going, "Oh my gosh, this is Patty. How come? Why was it acting in that way?" But that makes Coach. Yeah. That makes complete sense.
And the last thing, Valerie, is that age. A lot of Stevie Wonder forgets his words to his own song.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg said that, but that's a lot of weed.
Yeah. It happens. I thought that helps because I was gonna go look for some myself, but it's concert. Luther Vandross, I go down myself and down the man, na. I need to get some of whatever is gonna work. So yes,
work it out, brother. We're gonna work it out.
Absolutely.
And you got Mark in North Carolina said, "Wish I was celebrating there in Chi-Town with you guys."
Yeah, it would be great.
It would.
We're gonna represent.
Won't represent, but please go ahead and subscribe to Jesse's YouTube channel because I'm subscribed and I have been able to witness a lot of songs that he does in his own voice. And if you want to see it in person, if you're here in Chicago, he'll be at the Infinity Center for the Arts on July 2nd. Jesse, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Val. Thank you, Coach Tony. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Appreciate you, babe.
Yay, Jesse. Coach.
Hey, I tell you, that was awesome. I like brothers like that that's doing things, especially on that major stage. And I always love my brothers and sisters out of Chi-Town. I'm always going to pump them up every day, all day. So, and speaking of pumping up, I'm watching Kev, man, I'm loving you. I got to send a couple shout outs before we get into sports. My main man, speaking of Carolina, Mark, I love you, Mark. But I got my homeboy, James Ward, down in Carolina, represent. My guy, Johnny Pratt, on here tonight. I appreciate, and these guys keep rolling in, man. So I'm loving you guys. If you have not subscribed to this show, we are trying to get to 500 subscribers. We don't have that far to go. So if you have not subscribed to this show, and we're growing quickly, push that button and subscribe. Jump on here with Val the Voice, and your homeboy, Coach Tony. We're going to do it our third fizzle week in and week out. Come on now.
Oh my gosh, that is what's up. You know what? I still want to go ahead and do this. Where is this? Let me look. Oh yeah, let's do it.
And that made me want to just butcher when I hear that beat just drop. Boom.
Yay.
That thing. So two shout outs I've got real quick. Coming to the alma mater, Val, to NCC, a young man that I had a wonderful opportunity to meet with his mother, him, yesterday. Coming into NCC to play football is none other than my guy, Kyler Green, coming out of Nashville, Tennessee, will be playing football. And then I want to send a major shout out and a lot of prayers go out to my guy, Malachi Smith. He's a downstate kid from Bellevue, by the way of UT Chat, and finished his basketball career, Val, at Gonzaga. And guess what? After the draft last week, he got picked up by Portland Trailblazers for a 10-day contract. So let me explain to those people that are watching what that means.
Yeah, what
There's
does that
three
mean?
types of contracts. You have a contract, you got a two-way contract, you got a 10-day contract.
Right.
A contract is if you're first round, second round, first round especially, you're guaranteed your money. You can come play, so forth and so on. Second round, majority of the early second round guys are going to probably get a guaranteed contract. Middle to late second round, you got to play your way on the team. A two-way contract basically says that I'm going to bring you on board, but you're going to probably be in the G League, and you'll have an opportunity to be the first person called up if Valerie gets hurt or someone gets hurt. A 10-day contract, which is what Malachi Smith got, and we all going to be praying for this young man, is that he is heading to Las Vegas in July to the NBA Summer League. The NBA Summer League starts July the 9th all the way to July 25th. And Val, he will get 10 games to prove his worth to the NBA. If he plays well during those games, then he'll be extended a contract into the NBA with the Portland Trailblazers. If not, then he'll probably stay with them, but he'll go down to the G League, which is the B division of the NBA that develops players to get back to the NBA.
Wasn't the I want to say from the NBA draft, the Twins, weren't they in the G League before they they both were recruited into
right?
The
and you know how Thompson do. Come on, Thompson always a good thing. You know, the Thompson Twins.
The last name is Thompson. There you go.
Exactly. So yeah, you got Amin and Ashur. Both of those came out of Overtime Elite. And Overtime Elite is actually a high-rise program that's kind of joined the G League, kind of like Ignite, where Scoot Henderson played at for a year. Actually, Scoot was there for 2, but the Twins were there for 1. The only kid in the draft in that top 5 that went to college was actually my kid, who went number 2, the Brandon Miller kid. And for promotional purposes only, for those that paid attention to me 2 weeks ago before the break, I gave you the top 5 draft picks in order. So if you'd have been playing your promotional dollars, you probably got several months of your mortgage paid.
Several mortgage payments.
Several. Hey, let me put it like this, Val. I got a buddy of mine that's got at least a half a year of his mortgage paid. At least.
Wow. Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
and Brandon, and talk more about Brandon Miller. Like, why was he such a great choice?
Well, let's look at the winners and the losers, right? Everyone talked about Victor Wembanyama. We knew Victor Val at 7'5", kind of like the Ralph Sampson type player. And then there, my guy go right there in Brandon Miller. The reason the hype was so much around Brandon was Michael Jordan was set to sell the Charlotte Hornets. But before he even decided to sell his majority share, as I explained 2 weeks ago, he told the guys that were going to purchase his majority share, he would not relinquish those shares unless this young man was in uniform. Now, the draft for the first 5, first 6, first 7, first 8, they were very talented. Now, out there, you guys are listening to my voice and watching my handsome face for promotional purposes only. I'm telling you right now, I like Victor, but my guy, Brandon Miller, will be the rookie of the year, and he will have the better rookie season from these guys in the NBA because He's going to a team in Charlotte, North Carolina, Val, to play for the Hornets. And they're going to put him in position to get the ball in his hand. And Victor, I love him to death. I think he's great. Right. But you got to play night in and night out against Anthony Davis, night in and night out against Joker. We already know what Joker does, right? And my question to the kid, Val, is can he make it 82 games without getting hurt doing that?
And usually the kids that come from the NBA draft, depending on, I guess, the position they're playing, they wouldn't be apt to get injured immediately, like in the first, I don't know, because that's a rough schedule for any and everybody. 82 games is a long season, and it's from, what is it, November all the way to April. Is that correct? Am I good?
No,
Am I right?
October all the way to June.
Okay. Oh,
so wow. It's the second longest season, basketball and hockey outside of baseball. And the thing is, Val, if he was going to the East, right? Let's say he was going to our beloved Bulls. There's not a lot of big men in the East, and he would be in position to maybe fare a little well. But he's going to the West, where you got plentiful big guys. Now, don't get me wrong. He's going down to play for Greg Popovich and San Antonio Spurs, right? And the last time that Greg had two previous big guys, they are currently Hall of Famers in Tim Duncan and David Robinson.
Oh, Tim Duncan.
Exactly. I mean, David Robinson. So, so now Pop gets his third big guy, and I don't have any doubt that this kid will probably be famous and maybe get to the Hall of Fame level. But the problem is he's 7'5" and he only weighs a few hundred pounds. And you got to play these big boys and Davis and Joker. They're over 300 pounds, Val. 300 pounds, and they can play. So I mean, just imagine night in and night out, Val. You got to go put your head, your armpits on the shack.
Just don't dunk my head. Just don't try to attempt to dunk my head. Just let me
and here's the other thing. And I argue with a couple of my buddies, i.e. my homeboy James and my boy Googs down in Carolina. I love them boys to death. But we were talking about this in a pretty heated debate over the last week. And that's the piece that I give the Miller kid the nods for the simple fact of the matter. He's playing off the wing. We'll get a chance to shoot the ball. We'll get an opportunity to put the ball on the floor. And when you are a big target like Victor is, Kevin Durant said it best, Val, they're going to come for this kid. And they're going to come for him night in and night out. And the crazy part about it is that's not that they're going to come for the other guys, but they're going to come directly for Victor. And if he's as good as they say that he is, he's going to show up. And, obviously, if you look at last year, remember we talked about that kid named Chet Holmgren? He was 7'5", and he did what? Decided to play, a basketball pickup game with who? None other than LeBron James. And what happened, Val? He broke his freaking foot in a pickup game. And what happened, Val? He missed the entire year.
Yeah.
So he'll be back this year. And so, it's going to be kind of interesting. And he's going to Minnesota, another team in the West.
And so how will his team, embrace him and embrace because when you bring on new players, and even if you're coming from a different team, how is that dynamic going to look? What is he, a point guard?
So he's everything. He can play the 1 through the 5. That's the awesome thing about the kid. He can play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if he played, out on a 1 as a point, a smart NBA team is going to probably get a guy like Smart, who just got, cut from the Celtics, to get up underneath him. He's really got to put the ball on the floor. The biggest change I see the kids going to have to develop, Val, is two things. One, the physicality and the size in the NBA. And two, the style of play. Because he's coming from Europe, where the style of play is, once you shoot the ball on the rim, Val, in Europe, I can go on the rim and knock the ball out. In the NBA, you can't do that.
That's the rule. And so, and while he's in training to get, before he hits a floor, in NBA, they're going to have to go ahead and just kind of let him know about the rules. And so officials, the coaches, the assistant coaches, they'll just have to let Victor know we do things a little bit differently than they do over in France.
Well, this goes to show you how well Pop is taking everything serious and how well he's wrapping his hands around him. Unfortunately, for the people that want autographs and pictures, he won't be in Vegas in July. Pop has decided not to send him to Las Vegas, but instead to keep him in San Antonio and work him out. I'm sure what he's trying to do is feed this kid some protein and get him in the weight room. Almost positive.
Because he's very skinny from what I've seen. I've seen the span of his arms. He's very skinny, and he's going to be dynamic, and he'll be the person to watch and look for, because anyone that has to play against him defensively, that's going to be interesting to see. 7'5".
That's and the teams that I think personally, we were talking about this last week. You and I actually kind of had a conversation about what teams that we feel or we thought that may have lost in the draft. And I don't think anyone lost, right? But I hated that my Bulls didn't get a good pick because we got to do something in Chicago, right? We got to do something. But I think that in a situation like the kid Black, who came out of Arkansas, that's headed to the Magic, and I think the kid Bilal and Jerace, who is going out in the draft, I think that they're going to struggle for the reason is that Black is heading to the Magic in Orlando, and I think they're about 2 to 3 years away. And you get a good pick like that, and then you end up saying, I got to put some pieces together. Now I know the Miller kid. It was funny. Jordan had invited him in for a pickup game, and I guess Mike missed a free throw, airball a free throw, and it's on the video, Val. And he joked and jived Michael about missing that free throw and airball in it. Mike said, "Yeah, but can you pump the ball yet?" So Mike said, "By the way, I don't know if you know or not, but you are my most expensive purchase ever," because he got the Miller kid, but he paid a pretty penny for him, but Mike's going to get about $3 billion in return.
Yeah. And
that's not a bad return.
Is that sale final? His majority sales for Charlotte, is that final? Has that been finalized now?
They're wrapping the paperwork up this week. Now the Miller kid, it probably won't finalize itself until the Miller kid gets his official ink on the paper that says he belongs to the Hornets. Right now they're still in paperwork and negotiations and all that. And but soon after that, I think everything is in play. You'll see that purchase switch hands very quickly, Val, because they want to go ahead and get the work for the summer. They want to be in position for the next 3 or 4 weeks to get to Vegas for Summer League. And, it's exciting. One thing I think you're going to see, I was talking to a young guy today that told me he's not an NBA fan. He really don't watch the NBA. And I told him, you probably watching the NBA for the wrong reason. You watch the college game because these guys are playing for free. But the NBA, if you're really an NBA fan, you kind of watch because those guys are quick. And Val, think about it. They're scoring over 100 points every game, and they got 24 seconds to do it. There's a lot of college teams that's got 35-second shot clock, and they don't get out to 60s. So that just goes to show you the speed of the NBA and the opportunity. And once again, what do we say? There's only a 1% that plays in the league.
Yeah. And so it'll be fascinating to see how these young men who were all recruited through the NBA draft, especially those top 10, how they'll fare, how they'll gel with their other teammates. And this will be an exciting 2023-2024 season for the NBA. And definitely next week, we want to make sure, in 2 weeks, we definitely want to make sure that we are talking about the WNBA. We don't want to forget about the girls.
We can't forget about my girls. We just came off of, Dawn State in her South Carolina run and the mishaps there, unfortunately. And then, Angel Reese going back to LSU. But the big hand, and I want to tip my hat. Let me put my hat on real quick, Val. Hold on.
Put your hat on. Let me put the hat you got there.
I got the white side. I keep it South Side, baby. We represent nothing else. But I want to tip my hat to none other than Brittany Griner, because this young lady, can you imagine the last 24 months, Val? 24 months, 12 months ago, she was sitting in a prison, right?
Right.
And she's out now. She was an honorary member last year for the All-Star game. Remember, everybody wore Brittany's number on the lapel, and it was a big hoopla.
Big hoopla, yes.
Now she's out, and she is now voted from the fans, voted her in to the WNBA All-Star game this year, along with Leah Boston, the rookie from South Carolina, and of course my girl Aja Wilson. I love her. And then the other co-captain is Breanna Stewart, which used to be with the freaking Chicago Sky until she got traded.
Yeah. So it'll be definitely good to definitely see her and to cheer there on. And really quickly before we go, I see there's a question for you, Coach, from Ja. Coach, why do people see the MJ deal and him giving up the majority ownership as negative?
Well, I think what you see is that here's something I read today, Val. This may be news to a few folks, and you and I definitely didn't talk about it. I don't know if you heard, and I know my boy James is down there in Carolina. Him and Googs usually keep the ear to Raleigh and the Charlotte area, and so I'm sure they'll be texting me later. But they said the word on the street was that Michael Jordan sold the Hornets because he was broke, and that's the most foolish thing that I've ever heard. They said that he was hurting for money, and that the Jordan brand was no good. I'm like, are you stupid? The Jordan brand is the #1 shoe brand worldwide. So I read the report earlier today. They said there was no found evidence at all, Val, of that whatsoever. And that's why the people found it negative on there, just because they felt that Michael Jordan jumped out or made this play, and he jumped out too soon. You got to remember, he's only held the team for about 10 years. He's only had the team for about a decade. And, and now he's bowing out. But I think that Michael got into it for a power play. He bought the team for $275 million, and he sold it for $3 billion. I think that's as they say, buy low, sell high, right, Val?
Right.
And so he did just that.
Yeah, because was it 200 mil?
275 mil, and you give me $3 billion out. That's a great, and I gave you a decade. What else you want? And for me to argue later on my homeboys, and I'm giving you the rookie of the year and Brandon Miller. I'm giving you the rookie of the year. I gave you 10 years. I put together a great, everything I got to put together. And now all of a sudden I got to walk away from here. What's the big knock we always say about people in sports, Val? They do what? They leave sometime too late.
They leave it, yeah. And
he did that. He did that with the Bulls, right? Go back and look at Michael's career. If you were a true diehard Bulls fan like I was, the day that Mike left the league was the day that he hit the shot in the game-winning shot over Utah with the finger pointing like this over B, right? That was it. That was the memory, the shot, the picture, the photo. Then Jerry Reinsdorf and the guys with the Bulls, I won't say nothing about them. They let the greatest man in the basketball history go, and he ended up in Washington to play with the Wizards with Gilbert Arenas and doing Gilbert Arenas gun charges and all things, and that was just whole fiasco. It tainted Michael's entire ability to retire because he was at his apex, and he went to Washington for some foolishness. And they said, let me go ahead and get out of the league. So I think this time he came in as an owner, Val, and said, you know something? Right. I made one mistake as a player, but as an owner, I'm going to get out at the right time while I got a chance.
Right. And check this out. Kevin says, what does this mean for the Hornets? Ask Coach about their playing record over the 2022-2023 season. Their season, this past season was
with their past season, they didn't make the playoff. This is why they had number 2 draft pick in the draft, right? But exactly. and I love B. Miller. Been knowing the kid, since he's been knee high to a grasshopper, and he spoke on ESPN the other day that said by next year the Charlotte Hornets would make a run for the NBA championship. I think that's a little far stretch. I think they still need a couple of pieces they're missing. I think he's going to be a great addition with Melo, but I think they still need a big man, and I think they need a complementary wing player with Miller to make some things happen. If they would have got maybe a Chris Paul or maybe a Smart from Boston, a defensive guy, then I may say, okay, they got a shot. But I think they're a few years away. But I can tell you one thing, Charlotte Hornets, they're coming. They're going to make noise in the next 2 to 3 years.
I'm excited for that, Coach. I'm really excited for that. And I know that's going to be a phenomenal time. And so the WNBA, their all-star game is going to be July 9th.
I think it's July 15th. I think it is.
Oh, July 15th. Okay.
Yes.
Well, check it out. We, in celebration of our anniversary, as well as next week is actually July 4th. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll be back live in 2 weeks on Tuesday, July 11th at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And this was a special edition of our Talk on Tuesdays. But I'm really excited that you were able to be here and definitely break down the NBA draft and all of the players, especially the top 10 of all the students. I'm not students, but all of the players that's going to be going to these various teams. And it's going to be exciting to see. But we'll start covering the WNBA in 2 weeks because it'll be just before the All-Star game. And that'll be fun to see, Coach. Is that what play are you looking most forward to in that All-Star WNBA game?
Well, I hope that they don't do like the NBA All-Star because we're losing that. If it's not for the freaking dunk contest this year, I mean, they're losing it. But I think when you look at the WNBA, Val, you don't have the dunk contest. So I think the NBA, the WNBA All-Star Weekend is great because of the way they set up the team challenges, the three-point shooting contest, and a couple other things they got going on. So keep in tune there, just like I want you to keep in tune right here to Interludes Talk on Tuesday, because your boy, Coach Tony, got the Pull Up podcast coming soon. And I want to make sure that y'all online, y'all want to pull up on me. You got something to talk about, just pull up. That's exactly why we got the Pull Up podcast coming in early August with none other than Coach Tony.
That's right. And we'll be working on that, and that'll be hitting in August. So myself and Coach will be working on that, and it'll be all sports because this was kind of a two shows in one, because it was so great to talk with Jesse Campbell. It was so great. Good.
Oh, yeah. He taught me a lot of things. I didn't realize some of the behind the things that go on with these talk shows and,
reality shows.
Yeah, and especially the part he said, he did everything he did, and then he turned around and got blackballed. And I just heard something last week, Val. Did you know that Simon Cowell, who runs this show, never graduated from college? He was actually out, and he was actually had no job, no money, no nothing before he created The Voice.
Had no clue. And he didn't create The Voice. Did he create the X Factor?
I mean, no,
American Idol. American Idol. American Idol.
Yeah.
Then he created X Factor overseas. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he was down on his luck with $5 in his pocket, homeless, doing everything. And he put that show together over in London, and it made a little noise. And some little birdie came in his ear and said, I guarantee you, if you take this same concept to the States, it'll blow up. And he brought it across the pond, and it blew up.
Oh, man. Yeah, and you know what? I've noticed, because I was watching a little bit earlier before our broadcast, I was watching America's Got Talent, and there was a young white woman doing hip hop dancing. And when he said, "You are what this show is about," without like putting her down or anything like that, because she did great. She danced to about 2 or 3 different songs, and I was checking her out, and she got so emotional because someone told her that she couldn't do it, and she says, "No, I want to." And so when I see him get emotional, because I've noticed that he's gotten more emotional as he's gotten older, and I think a lot of us have. It's just that when people push through their, I don't know, their fears and sometimes the inner doubts and maybe that little negative Nancy or negative Nelson that says you can't do it, and you push through and you see on the other side you can do it. And for Jesse to share his story, for you, Coach, to share the story of these wonderful kids who have been recruited to the NBA, and just for us celebrating our 3-year anniversary. It's been amazing. It's been phenomenal. I am over the moon excited, and you guys are just phenomenal. I'm so happy that I've received, or we've received, as I was showing a little bit earlier before you came on, is that we have been producing. We released our very first episode June 26, 2020, in the height of the pandemic.
Right.
And I thank you all for all of the, I like to call it the support for Interludes Extra. And then also Interludes Extra became the extension of Interludes. And so it's been a wonderful ride, Coach. And you were our guest, I believe, in 2021. Or I think it was 2020.
This is my second year with the show, and it's been great. And I love what you just said a moment ago about the underdogs working hard to get there. That's why the young man who I just met with tonight, Malachi Smith, you were talking about, come from a blue collar state in Illinois, working in a small conference, transfers out to a smaller school, goes to Gonzaga, and now he's got an opportunity that most kids only dream about. And again, it's like this show. Val and I, we blue collar workers. This show is continuing to blow up. It's getting better and better, but we can't do it without you guys subscribing to this show, because we're going to continue to bring you top-notch content. I mean, like my guy, Merle Cole. We didn't get that on ESPN. We didn't get that on Fox, baby. You got that right here in Interludes Talk to Tuesday. That's my homeboy. You know what I'm saying? Jesse Campbell. You didn't get that on ESPN. You didn't get that on BET. You got that right here. I stay hyped. One night I'm about to pull out the turntables and get down so I can let y'all know I'm really versatile. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh. Interludes is brought to you by Legal Shield. We thank the folks at Legal Shield. If you'd like to get more information on wills or trusts or something to be done regarding your loved ones, or if you are a business and you need help with trademarking, go ahead and text the word legal to 347 that should say 652, not 662. I got to change that, but go ahead.
Change that because I got to call them, Val, to make sure I got the number right.
Exactly, but I'll go ahead and ask Kevin to put the website in the chat. I was trying to figure out why I never got any text, and that's because it.
Right, you sitting them down the street. They calling somebody out talking about, hello, what? The Legal Shield? No Legal Shield here, man. Get off my phone.
My
hey, we apologize to the people from Legal Shield. We love you guys. This is Val, the voice, and I'm none other than my guy, Coach Tony, and we got none other than my homeboy, Mr. Kevin Springer, on the ones and twos, behind the scene, behind the set. Interludes Talk on Tuesday, baby.
All right, guys. Well, we thank you guys so much for joining us on tonight. Like I said, we'll be back on Tuesday, July 11th. Go ahead and enjoy your 4th. We'll probably have a compilation video for next week. I'll be working on that while I'm traveling, but I am so grateful that thank Jesse. Thank you, Coach. Guys, we are out. Peace.